Wow, we're already back doing this again? Man, time flies by fast. Oh well. Anyways, the attachments a person uses can say a lot about how they are as a player, and this is especially true when talking about combinations. But we're not here to talk about setups, we're here to talk about the individual attachment stereotypes. Now, as customary with this series, before we begin, I just gotta give a quick disclaimer. These stereotypes do not apply to everyone. They have reasons for existing, but there will always be exceptions. For example, if the stereotype for the Kousaku Sight is it's exclusively used by hypersweats, that doesn't necessarily mean you actually are a hypersweat, but that's basically what everybody thinks about you when you use the Kousaku Sight. Okay, are we good now? Have people understood? Okay, cool. So, without further ado, let's get into the episode. Honestly, people who don't use sight attachments are like boss battles. This is especially true if they're using certain guns like the AK family, the Mosin, both the Deagles, and the Executioner. So if you see anybody running the default irons on any of these guns, you better prepare yourself for the hardest match you'll ever play in your entire life. The double open sights are used by people who want a crystal clear vision of their enemy. They often find regular irons too obstructive, and when they try to use red dot sights, they somehow manage to find the tiny little reticle too blinding for them to use. So there are three types of ring sight users: those who just unlocked it, pistol users, and people who actually know how to use these. The new players often use this among other low kill attachments like the R2 suppressor and the vertical grip, because they still have the classic higher kill requirement equals better attachment mindset. Although most of the time you'll see the ring sights used on pistols, and it's notable that people using ring sights over reticle sights on pistols are often more accurate with their shots than those who use reticle sights. And lastly, we have the pro ring sight mains. These people, while rare to see, are an absolute menace, and also have an appreciation for a cleaner screen. Although sometimes they overestimate how good they are and rush an entire enemy team only to promptly get their ass handed right back to them. So the carry handle sights are either used by M4 family fanboys who swear on their life that the M4 family is the best gun family in the game, or Strider fans who pre-bought this on the Stair Scout at rank 40 so they can spread their cult even further. You know, I rarely see people using the backup sights aside from those who put them on their P90 even though the backup sight is literally the P90 irons. But those backup sights users I have seen are really freaking good at the game, although they often only use these sights on their secondary for backup. So the majority of people who use these types of irons are mid-rank sweats. They are usually pretty average at the game and are just trying their hardest to hit a 50 kill game. Or you have that one Fortnite kid who's just completely obsessed with Fortnite, so they pre-buy and put the Scar irons on everything they have.
Demo gaming!
You know, the only guns I ever see anybody using these sights on is either the Tech 9 or the K7. This is because these people are often remaking the Cleaner's Carbine from TF2. But it's like an SFG BFG situation because he uses the K7 when he wants the Cleaner's Carbine as a strong primary, and he uses the Tech 9 when he's running the full TF2 loadout. Which, by the way, I already have a video that's all about that loadout. You should check it out. So there are two types of people who use this: those who actually use it for its ability to alt-aim, and Ah, the MP7 irons. These are almost exclusively used by new players, as they really aren't that great and basically an earlier, worse version of the ring sights. Although USAS users find this sight very helpful, as when they alt-aim they are able to see significantly more of it compared to when they're using other regular sights. Man, I just have one question to ask. Why is everybody who uses high magnifications irons so goddamn good at the game? Like seriously, how are they so good with iron sights? It's absolutely ridiculous how I literally get outplayed by these people every single time, no matter which range it's at. So there are two types of AAC users, those who use it on the Honey Badger, and those who realize this is arguably one of the best iron sights in the entire game. Often above average skill level, AAC sight users are usually around rank 100 and most commonly seen on Metro using low time to kill weapons. They don't talk very much but are relatively chill people. People who use remove blank attachments are often a 50-50 split. Either they are a new player who just uses whatever attachments they have from the start, or an absolute god who knows exactly what he's doing. Seriously, some Type 20 users with remove irons are downright terrifying to fight. Similar to other high magnification iron users, people who use irons on sniper rifles are almost always really good at the game. The SVU users can hit targets from the entire map away with pinpoint accuracy. Meanwhile, the Remington users are almost the second coming of Paradox Pokey with their absolute unreal quickscoping skills. It pretty much goes without saying that most people who use these sights are Rainbow Six Siege fans who are pretty much stuck using like 2 guns in the entire game because these sights are exclusive to some of the Olympic weapons. People who use this are often just role-playing as the Italian Mafia with their 50-round drum default Tommy gun, and as customary with the roleplay, they often say the I forgive you my son, but my Tommy gun don't, quote, at pretty much every opportunity.
Hank Johnson here. This is an iron sight. Your iron. A rear and a front sight. Good enough for gaming. Not aperture gaming. Gentlemen, I give you the dual aperture sight. The irons of tomorrow. 2.5 times zoom. Infinite range efficiency. Clear. The dual aperture sight will assist your soldiers every step of the way. That is not an iron sight. That's a grenade. We sell those too.
The Z-Point is a classic sight we all have used at some point or another. Although that's pretty much the only thing it has going for it. It's the very first sight unlock. However, most if not every person will move on to any other sight when given the opportunity, but that's most people. Because there are some rare breeds of humans who main the Z-Point, and honestly, I respect the hell out of that. The EOTechs are interesting sights. See, while they are a low kill unlock, there are actually quite a few notable stereotypes for it outside the low rank users. For example, the high rank EOTech mains. Now, similar to cracked iron sight users, these people have absolute unreal aim and can laser you at pretty much any range. Then you have those who go for the realistic military loadout. This often includes using one of the EOTech sights and some sort of suppressor to look as tactical as possible. And the last type of EOTech user is the Now this guy is either a different version of the tactical military loadout guy, or the meme lord who uses this alongside a canted sight and a sideways grip for the ultimate it's technically attached to the gun loadout. And on the topic of EOTechs, this sight is used by elite EOTech fans. And while it is named EOTech outright, these people crown this as the best EOTech in the entire game. It has good magnification, it has a modern model, and the reticle looks as beautiful as always. Although due to this being a high kill unlock, it's most commonly used by high rank EOTech fans. These are probably the most traditional sights in Phantom Forces, often used across both primary and secondary guns. Although these people often go one of two ways. Either they move on to the Reflex Sight after unlocking it, or they stick to these sights and often end up becoming pretty damn good at the game, always making sure to stick to these sights across all of their weapons. So there are a few different types of Mars Sight users. First off, we have the OG Mars mains who are praising stylists for finally making their sight viable. Then we have those who use this as a budget AMT-Terminator by either using guns with alt-aim or combining it with a sideways grip to then again alt-aim. And lastly, we have those who just unlocked it and have no idea how to use it. People who use the Cobra sights usually only use it over the Reflex Sight out of pure fear of being classified as the YouTuber setup user. Although they often also like to talk about how much better their sight is than the Reflex to further distance themselves from said classification. Oh, and because it's Russian, this sight is most commonly used by Honestly, people who use this sight are probably some of the most sweaty types of people in the game, even surpassing Reflex Sight users in sweat level. And speaking of which, these two sights have an internal community war still in an unsettled debate on which sight is truly better because both sides refuse to back down. Either that, or they're simply just Call of Duty fans. People who use the Microdot are basically high-rank comp aimpoint mains, although they often also complain to stylists about the Microdot Mini's reticle size. There are two distinct types of people who use this sight. First off, we have the people who specifically only uses this on AR-15s because it's the only non-iron sight in the game that removes the front post irons. And secondly, we have the EOTech hybrid fans. These people originally liked the EOTech but thought the reticle was a little much, so they actually made the Z point back in the day but have since swapped to this sight instead. You know, the only time I ever see a PLAT 3 is on a sniper. I have no idea why I never see this used on any other type of weapon. It's always just sniper rifles. You know, for the longest time, I thought this sight was named the Barska Electro. And honestly, I think most people using this made the same mistake. I mean, the name would make so much more sense. Barska Electro. I honestly don't know why they didn't name it that instead. Wait, what was I supposed to talk about again? Oh right, stereotypes. So yeah, Barska Electro users are similar to Acro Sight fans. These people love the EOTech reticles but think the sight itself is way too obstructive, so when this was added they instantly flocked to it. The Kousaku Sight is probably the most hated and loved sight at the same time. This is because the Kousaku Sight has become dominant in the meta, and it obviously goes without saying that pretty much every tryhard in the game immediately switched out their Reflex Sight for this. Its popularity was also boosted further when pretty much every single Phantom Forces YouTuber started using and praising it as arguably one of the best sights in the entire game. And as a result, the Kousaku Sight gets a pretty bad reputation among the casual players because obviously having to deal with Kousaku Sight hypersweats in pretty much every single server is extremely annoying because the amount of jump spam is enough to rival Minecraft speedrunners. The Reflex is a very broad sight because pretty much everyone and their mother has used this at some point, but most of the time this sight is used by one of three main types of people. First off, we have the YouTuber fans who create every single setup based on what their favorite YouTuber uses. Secondly, we have the typical tryhards. These people either didn't have or didn't want to move over to the new Kousaku meta, so that's why you don't see that many hypersweats use this anymore. And lastly, we have the veterans who still believe the Reflex Sight is truly the best sight in Phantom Forces and still stick to the old school guns and attachments. Now this is actually the go-to sight for many Phantom Forces players that don't have a specific preference. You know, they don't care too much about recoil, reticle, or obstructive sights. Also, side note, this is probably the most popular sight that people don't actively pre-buy. But if you see somebody using this sight, it's safe to assume they have at least 1,000 kills on their gun. Oh, and there's also of course the honestly, I don't see many people use this anymore. It's kinda a sight that went under the radar. Although most DDHB Reflex users are also Minecraft fans who use this sight because the reticle looks almost exactly like the Minecraft crosshair. But most of the time, it's just used by people who are building their kill count on their favorite gun. Ignoring the H&K 416 and Honey Badger mains who can't handle a slight amount of recoil, this sight is pretty much only used on LMGs, specifically the HK 21. And honestly, it makes sense because the DCL 120 is the only sight in the game that actively reduces recoil, specifically rotational recoil, which very conveniently is the exact type of recoil the HK 21 suffers from. So if you see a DCL 120 user, he's probably using the HK 21. You know, I barely even see any Kousaku OLED users. This is another sight that just kinda went under the radar. And honestly, the few people who actually do use the Kousaku OLED pretty much only use it because it looks kinda cool. Oh, and also these people hate stylists for making the reticle customization change pretty much everything but the main reticle. These scopes are most often seen on M16 style weapons, more specifically the C7. This is both because these scopes come with the C7 and also because it just kind of fits the weapon cosmetically. With that said, people who use this are most likely running a realistic themed military loadout. The PSO scopes are almost exclusively used by new players. I mean, sure, there are a few Dragunov SVDS mains that use this for long-range sniping, but that's the 1%. These scopes are most commonly seen on either the AS Val or the DMR equivalent as they are unlocked from the start. Although these people don't really know what they're doing and often only use them for a couple laps before switching off to something else. The ACOP scopes have a 50-50 chance of being a decently good player or complete shit, although the VCOG 6x scope is specifically used by people who are running the classic remaining setups.
The Sidewinder ED is used specifically by tryhards. Oh, hang on, there's one more thing in my script.
This is gonna be a real piece of piss, you bloody fruit shop owners!
The high power is also the other scope that is overused, and I can see why. It is actually something that's helpful for me as a sniper, especially for the Hecate. I guess I joined the trend. I'm not gonna lie. I have to give it to him. The PM2 is one of the two scopes that are severely overrated. It's like a pest. You see it everywhere, and I don't know why. There's so many better scopes than this. It's just a pest. I hate it. That's why I don't use it. The COM is never used. Probably because no one has unlocked its potential. And for the few people that have, be warned. They are really good. Very good. Like scary good. The NX sights are old and reliable. But you don't see them on other snipers, only on the counterparts they're on. So only the Intervention and the BFG, you don't see them anywhere else. And I don't see why, they're good scopes. Sagittarius is never used, except me. I have like 10k kills on this thing. I can't stop using it. I like it too much. There's a problem with me. I help.
You pretty much never see these sights used outside themed loadouts or meme sets. This is both because these sights suck, and they are unlocked by default on specific weapons. This scope is exclusively used by Mosin mains, and maybe occasionally by a few Ubers users here and there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. The The Malcolm scope is used for one of 3 different reasons. The first reason is the low scope sway. DMR users often use the scope for its little to no scope sway, so that way they can become more agile and difficult to kill than most sniper users. The second reason is the aesthetic similarity to source game scopes, so you'll most likely see the sight on some sort of theme loadout like a Sniper TF2 loadout, a CSGO loadout, etc. And lastly, the third reason is that these sights look silly, so there's also a pretty good chance you'll see this used by memers running yet another totally original and funny curse setup. This scope was pretty much abandoned upon release, and for good reason. High kill unlock sights tend to not be used as much, and scopes in general just aren't very popular in Phantom Forces. So while I'm sure there's maybe 1 or 2 people out there that use this consistently, I'm sorry, but I've yet to see you.
Yeah, boy. Think fast, Chuckle Nuts!
So unlike the Electro 5x, which literally nobody talked about, this one at least got a few dedicated videos on it from popular Phantom Forces YouTubers. But despite being put in the public eye, this weird knockoff version of the TA-01 ACOG never really got to see any use outside from the occasionally new LED 5 users who probably switch it out for something else as soon as they unlock literally anything else. You know, I think I'm starting to recognize a theme with these high kill scopes, because literally nobody uses them. No one. Not a single soul. Moving on. Let's be honest, outside of memes, people only use this as a tool for the final 50 kills before they unlock the actual AMT-Terminator. The AMT-Terminator, one of the most common sights in the entire game, if you can really call it a sight. The AMT has 3 primary types of people who use it. First off, obviously, we have the tryhards, who use this as a crutch to handle any and all recoil their probably meta gun has. Then we have those who use it on the correct types of guns with very high burst range recoil, like for example the M231, the MAC-10, and the HK21. And lastly, we have the laser enthusiast, who uses this alongside dual tri-lasers for reasons beyond human understanding.
Hey buddy, look over here! Haha, now you're blind!
People who use the Handmade Sight are the same types of people who unironically buy Nintendo Labo expecting something great to come out of it, but end up disappointing themselves under 5 minutes. You know, kinda like when they pre-bought the Sight. So aside from the weeaboos, this sight is used by one man and one man only, and that man is
Mommy. Oh. I love you, anti-sight.
What in God's name are you doing? Back off, you crazy bitch!
Please give me huggy wuggies. Ooh woo.
What the fuck are you saying?
Pounces on you.
How could this happen to me? Made my mistakes. Got nowhere to run.
Var, X3. What's this? Oh, whoa. Notices your bulge. Let's have a little look-see here.
I wish I stayed home and played the new Call of Duty. This is so not cash money!
Phew, that was quite a long episode. Anyways, next up will be barrel attachments, so if you have any suggestions for stereotypes, make sure to comment them down below or join my Discord server and type your stereotypes in the stereotype suggestions channel. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you guys this time around, so make sure to like and subscribe for more episodes and turn on notifications so you never miss another upload. But until next time, peace.